Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Friday, April 13th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap last night's Stanley Cup playoff action, look ahead to tonight's action, go over last night's MLB action, and look ahead to tonight's MLB action. Go over a big NFL release by a big-time NFL franchise. Go over a coaching move in an NBA and a GM hiring in the NBA. And rank the NBA players by trade value. And give out my NBA awards for the season. Last night, the Tampa Bay Lightning defeated the New Jersey Devils 5-2 in Game 1 of the quarterfinals. Tampa leads the series 1-0. Andres Palat got the scoring going 5 minutes into the game. 1-0 Tampa. 15 minutes into the game. Then Tyler Johnson got a goal, 2-0 Tampa, and it was assisted by Andres Palat and Braden Point. Palat's goal was assisted by Johnson and Ryan McDonough. Second period, Yanni Gourde on the power play, 3-0 Tampa, assisted by Andre Palat and Mikhail Sergachev. Taylor Hall, first career Stanley Cup playoffs goal, 3-1 as the Devils get on the board late in the second period. Third period, Travis Zajac gets the Devils within one on a power play goal, assisted by Taylor Hall and Will Butcher. Later on in the third period, Alex Killorn's first of the playoffs, assisted by Yanni Gourde, to put Tampa up by 2. And Nikita Kucherov in the empty net, 5-2 Tampa was your win. Andrei Vasilevsky was great in net last night. He had 29 saves on 31 shots. Keith Kincaid, 27 saves on 31 shots. The Bruins defeated the Maple Leafs 5-1 in that game 1 as Boston leads the series 1-0. Boston got it going right away in the first period on a power play goal by Brad Marchand. They make it 1-0, assisted by Torrey Krug and David Pastrnak. Zach Hyman got the Maple Leafs on the board, assisted by Connor Brown and Morgan Riley to tie it up at 1 apiece. Second period, the Bruins take over. David Backes on the power play, assisted by David Krejci and Charlie McAvoy to make it 2-1 Bruins. Then David Pastrnak later on in the period, assisted by Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron to make it 3-1. Third period, Sean Corliss puts the Bruins up 4-1, assisted by David Pastrnak and Zdeno Chara. Then David Krejci on the power play, make it 5-1, assisted by Jake DeBrusk and Torrey Krug. Tuukka Rask was tremendous in net. He made 26 saves on 27 shots. Frederik Andersen, 35 saves on 40 shots. The Blue Jackets defeat the Capitals 4-3 in overtime as Columbus takes a 1-0 lead into the series. The Capitals got it going first, though. Evgeny Kuznetsov on the power play, 1-0. Kuznetsov again on the power play about a minute later, 2-0 Caps. Second period, Alexander Wenberg gets the Jackets on the board to get within 1. Third period, Thomas Vanek ties the game up on a power play goal to make it 2-2. Devontae Smith-Pelly's first of the playoffs, 4 minutes later to put the Caps up 3-2. Then Seth Jones on the power play ties it up at 3 apiece. And in overtime, Artemi Panarin, the game winner, 4-3. Columbus is a winner. Ian Cole and Pierre-Luc Dubois have the assists. Sergei Bobrovsky made the big saves when he had to in this game. I thought he was terrific. 27 saves on 30 shots. Philip Garbauer was okay. 23 saves on 27 shots. I'm curious to see if they go to Holtby the next game or do they keep Garbauer. Now, I don't think Garbauer was that bad. And I don't think he cost the Capitals the game. The Predators defeat the Avalanche 5-2 as Nashville takes a 1-0 lead in the series. Colorado actually got on the board first on a goal by Nikita Zadorov. His first of the playoffs, assisted by Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon to put the Avs up 1-0. Austin Watson ties it in the beginning of the second period at 1 apiece, assisted by Colton Sissons and Ryan Johansson. Blake Kumu puts Colorado up 2-1 about a minute and a half later, assisted by Carl Soderberg and Matt Nieto to get Colorado up 2-1. Craig Smith on the power play 4 minutes later, assisted by Ryan Johansson to tie it up at 2 apiece. Third period, the Preds take over. Philip Forsberg's first of the playoffs, 3-2 Nashville, assisted by Roman Josi and Victor Evridson. Forsberg is again 4-2 Nashville. And the dagger of the game, Colton Sissons in the empty net, 5-2 Nashville is your final. That goal was assisted by Austin Watson. Pekka Rinne was really good and made the big saves when he had to. Had to give the Preds credit for not unfolding when the Avs took their 2 leads. That hushed the crowd a little bit. 25 saves on 27 shots. Jonathan Bernier, 26 saves on 30 shots. Last but not least, what I thought was the most impressive performance of the night, San Jose going into Anaheim and defeating the Ducks 3-0. San Jose takes a 1-0 series lead. From a pick standpoint, I went 3-2. The only games I got wrong, I said Toronto and Washington would win. They did not. I had San Jose, Nashville, and Tampa. It was all Sharks in this game and all coming in the second period. Evander Kane's first career playoff goal. You got San Jose up 1-0, assisted by Joe Pavelski and Thomas Hertl on the power play. Kane again, 2-0 Sharks, assisted by Joe Pavelski and Brendan Dillon. Then Brent Burns, first of the playoffs, assisted by Timo Meier, put San Jose up 3-0 for good. Martin Jones was just absolutely tremendous in this game. He stood on his head for the most part. 25 saves on 25 shots. John Gibson, 31 saves on 34 shots. Gibson was tremendous. This score could have been worse. Tonight, you have Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Philadelphia looking to even up the series at 1 apiece. And you know what? I'm going to be ballsy here. I think they will. I think they're going to come out and play a better game. There's a couple turning points in that game in which they could have tied the score at 1-1. Matt Murray just stood on his head and the Pens took over in game 1. I'm going to say 3-2 Philadelphia in overtime. And the Flyers get out of Pittsburgh 1-1, which would be great for them. Wild Jets. Give me the Jets to go up 2-0 in the series. The Wild are still a little shorthanded. Dubnyk will keep them in the game. Give me 2-1 Winnipeg in overtime. Kings Golden Knights. This was a tremendous game 1 that was played by both teams. I think LA ties it up at 1 apiece. I'm going to say a 3-2 Kings win in regulation. That's my guess. All right. Major League Baseball. There was a game already played today. I'll go over that tomorrow. I'm just going to go over last night's games. There was a few of them, and then I'll go over the games that are going to be played tonight. The Pirates defeat the Cubs 6-1 to improve to 9-3. Chicago drops to 6-7. Trevor Williams with the win. Kyle Hendricks with the loss. Top of the first inning, a home run by Gregory Polanco, 1-0 Pittsburgh. Bottom of the fourth, Kyle Schwarber ties it up at 1 apiece with a home run. Top of the fifth, Adam Frazier, solo shot to put the Buccos up 2-1. Polanco again, 3-1 Pirates, and a 3-run home run by Francisco Cervelli put the Pirates up 6-1 for good. Trevor Williams, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 1.56 ERA. He's pitched well in 3 starts this season. Kyle Hendricks, 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.71 ERA. The Indians defeat the Tigers 9-3 as they improve to 8-5. Detroit drops to 4-8. Trevor Bauer with the win, Michael Fulmer with the loss. Bottom of the first, Indians got on the board with a home run by Francisco Lindor. And then fielder's choice by Michael Brantley, 2-0 Indians. Bottom of the second, the Indians put up a couple more runs. 2-run double by Lindor to make it 4-0. 2-run home run by Jose Ramirez, 6-0 Cleveland. Top of the third, RBI single Nick Castellanos to get the Tigers on the board to make it a 6-1 game. Bottom of the fourth, 2-run single Jason Kipnis, 8-1 Tribe. And in the bottom of the fourth, the at-bat was extended by a dropped foul ball by Javier Caliendo, and then Michael Brantley hit an RBI double to make it a 9-1 ball game. Couple garbage runs for the Tigers. Top of the seventh, RBI single Nick Castellanos make it 9-2, and then an RBI doubled by Dixon Machado make it 9-3. Trevor Bauer, 7 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.25 ERA. Michael Fulmer had his worst outing of the early season, 3 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, and 2 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.86 ERA. The Red Sox defeat the Yankees 6-3 in the rubber game of the series as Boston improves to 10-2. Best record in the American League so far. Yankees dropped to 6-7. Rick Porcello with the win, Sonny Gray with the loss, Craig Kimbrell with the save. Bottom of the second, all Red Sox. RBI single, Sandy Leon, 1-0. Sacrifice fly, Mookie Betts, 2-0. Bottom of the second as well. Fielder's choice, Andrew Benintendi, and then there was the throwing error by Tyler Wade to make it 3-0 Red Sox as Wade tried to throw the runner out at home plate as the runner scored. And then that followed up by an RBI single by Mitch Moreland, who actually didn't start the game. Hanley Ramirez did, but Hanley Ramirez got plunked by Sonny Gray. And then Ramirez left the game, and then Moreland came in and filling for him. Did a nice job. Put the Red Sox up 4-0 there with an RBI single. Bottom of the third, ground rule double, Jackie Bradley Jr., 5-0 Sox. Also in the bottom of the third, fielder's choice, Mookie Betts, 6-0 Sox. And in the top of the ninth, the Yankees made this game semi-interesting. A 3-run double by Gary Sanchez to make it a 6-3 game. Then Craig Kimbrell came in because that RBI double was in the top of the ninth and made it a 6-3 game with no outs. So Kimbrell came on to get the save. Porcello was really, really good, had a no-hitter for a while, and then Aaron Judge broke that up. 7 innings, 2 hits, 6 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 1.83 ERA. Sonny Gray probably had one of his worst outings as a Yankee, if not the worst outing as in his slim Yankees career. 3 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 6.92 ERA. The Cardinals defeated the Reds 13-4 as they improved to 6-7. Cincinnati drops to 2-10. Michael Wacha with the win. Austin Bryce with the loss. Mike Mayers with the save. Top of the first, RBI single, Jose Martinez, 1-0 Cardinals. Also in the top of the first, RBI single, Yadier Molina, 2-0 Cardinals. Bottom of the first, 2-run single, Jesse Winker tied up at 2 apiece. Top of the third, home run, Marcell Ozuna make it 3-2 Cards. Bottom of the third, the Reds take a lead on a 2-run single by Scooter Gennett. Top of the fifth, the Cardinals tie it up on a bases-loaded walk by Jose Martinez. Top of the sixth, go-ahead home run, Paul DeJong. Top of the seventh, home run, Jose Martinez make it a 6-4 game. Top of the seventh as well, home run, Yadier Molina, 7-4. Top of the seventh as well, bases-loaded walk to make it 8-4. Now it's Dexter Fowler. Another bases walk, this one by Tommy Pham that made it 9-4 Cardinals. 10-4 Cardinals on a sacrifice by Matthew Carpenter. Also in the bottom, or the top of the seventh, 2-run double, Jose Martinez. And in the top of the ninth, again Jose Martinez with an RBI double. Jose Martinez has been tremendous for the Cardinals so far this season. Michael Wacha, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 5.52 ERA. Sal Romano, 4 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 5.87 ERA. The Rockies defeated the Nationals 5-1 as they improved to 7-7. Washington drops to 6-7. Chad Bettis with the win, Gio Gonzalez with the loss. Top of the first, the Rockies got it going on a home run by DJ LeMahieu to make it 1-0. 2-0 Rockies in the top of the first on Ian Desmond being safe at second base on an error by Howie Kendrick as Chris Iannetta scores. Top of the second, RBI double, DJ LeMahieu make it 3-0. Bottom of the fifth, the Nationals got on the board with a home run by Howie Kendrick to make it a 3-1 game. And in the top of the sixth, another home run by DJ LeMahieu to make it a 5-1 Rockies win. Bettis, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.04 ERA. He was outstanding today. Gio Gonzalez, 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.20 ERA. The Twins defeated the White Sox 4-0. Jose Barrios, again, outstanding. He got the win. Lucas Giolito got the loss. Minnesota improves to 7-4. I believe that was their 3rd win in a row. Chicago drops to 4-8. All Twins in this one. Bottom of the third, fielder's choice, Brian Dozier, 1-0 Twins. Also in the bottom of the third, RBI single, Joe Mauer, 2-0 Twins. Bottom of the seventh, 2-run single, Joe Mauer, 4-0 Twins. Barrios outstanding, as I mentioned before. 7 innings, 3 hits, 11 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.18 ERA. Lucas Giolito, 6 in the 3rd innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 5.5 ERA. The Angels defeated the Royals 7-1 as they improved to 11-3. Casey drops to 3-8. Nick Trapana with the win. Ian Kennedy with the loss. Top of the first, leadoff home run, Ian Kinsler, 1-0 Angels. Top of the seventh, yes, the seventh. It was a 1-0 game for a while. 2-run single, Cole Calhoun, 3-0. And at the top of the seventh, a 3-run triple by Shohei Ohtani to make it 6-0 Angels. Top of the eighth, home run, Mike Trout, 7-0. And in the bottom of the eighth, the Royals get their lone run and an RBI single by Lucas Duda to get themselves on the board. Nick Trapano was pretty good. 6 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts, has a 0 ERA. Ian Kennedy, 6 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, has a 1 ERA. Kennedy's been pretty good for the Royals this year as he is bound to be trade bait. Last but not least, from last night's San Francisco defeated San Diego 7-0 as they improved to 6-6. San Diego drops to 4-10. Chris Stratton with the win. Byron Mitchell with the loss. All Giants in this one. Top of the first. Fielder's choice. Evan Longoria 1-0 Giants. Also in the top of the first, 2-run single by Hunter Pence 3-0 Giants. Top of the sixth. Andrew McCutchen was safe at second base on the throwing error by Christian Villanueva as 2 runs scored to make it 5-0 Giants. Also in the top of the sixth, a 2-run double by Buster Posey to make it 7-0. Stratton was really good. 7 innings, 1 hit, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.6 ERA. Brian Mitchell, 3 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, 2 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 5.27 ERA. Today's games, we had 1 in the books. The Braves defeated the Cubs 4-0. I'll get to the details of that game on tomorrow's podcast. You have the Cardinals and the Reds tonight from Cincinnati in Game 2 of that series. Tyler Mahle against Luke Weaver. You have the Rockies at the Nationals. Kyle Freeland against Tanner Roark. Yankees at the Tigers. Yankees looking to bounce back from the disappointing series in Boston. Jordan Montgomery against Mike Fiers. Fiers has been good for Detroit so far this season. Orioles, Red Sox. The Red Sox look to keep up the best record in the American League. Eduardo Rodriguez against Chris Tillman. Blue Jays, Indians. That's a big series for Toronto as they look to prove to be a contender in the American League. Marcus Stroman against Mike Clevenger. Brewers and the Mets. The Mets looking to keep that hot start going for 9 in a row. Steven Matz against Zach Davies. Pirates, Marlins. Chad Cole against Dylan Peters. The Pirates look to keep up their surprising start. Phillies, Rays. Vince Velasquez and Jacob Faria. The Phillies look to continue to play well after that sweep of the Reds. White Sox, Twins was postponed. Rangers, Astros. This is an excellent pitching matchup. Cole Hamels against Garrett Cole. Although Hamels hasn't been great this year so far. Angels, Royals. Andrew Heaney against Jason Hamill. You have Athletics, Mariners. Andrew Triggs against Mike Leake. Dodgers hosting the Diamondbacks. And it's Zach Greinke against Kenta Maeda. Last but not least, Giants at the Padres. Ty Blach against Tyson Ross. And I figured out the deal with the ESPN Plus thing, guys. It's that ESPN has a new app. They redid the ESPN app. And ESPN Plus is where you can live stream some games and stuff for pretty much nothing. So that's great. Today, the Dallas Cowboys made a difficult decision to release Dez Bryant. Sad day for Bryant and the Cowboys. Bryant was a really good Cowboy, one of the better receivers in the league over the last 7-8 years. I'm fascinated to see where he ends up next. There's talk that maybe San Francisco could be interested. And meanwhile, he tweeted that he could very well be seeing the Cowboys twice next season. So does that hint Philadelphia or Washington or New York? I'll tell you guys this. I don't think it's going to be the New York Giants. I don't think they want to add somebody like a Bryant who has a little bit of an attitude and demanding the ball. And how would that work with Odell? I just don't love the fit. Washington, to me, makes a lot of sense because they have a need at receiver. Philadelphia would be fun because they're the defending Super Bowl champs and they can use help at receiver as well to go with Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith. Oh, wait, Smith's not there anymore. To go with Alshon Jeffrey and all the other good receivers they have in Philadelphia. So I think Philadelphia and Washington are logical fits. San Francisco is a logical fit. Can the Chicago Bears get in play potentially? Can they add somebody for Mitch Trubisky to throw to? Carolina's interesting. That's where Torrey Smith ended up getting traded to. I completely forgot about that. For a minute there, I thought he was still in the Eagles. But no, they traded him. Bryant would be an interesting fit in Carolina as well. I'm very fascinated to see what happens with Dez Bryant. Earlier in the week, the Charlotte Hornets hired Mitch Kupchak to be their new general manager. I like this hire. Kupchak did tremendous with the Lakers through all those years. They just fired him because it was the time run its course situation. time to move on. And the Lakers have moved on, and they're heading in the right direction. Let's see if Kupchak can put the Hornets in the right direction. The first thing he did was got rid of head coach Steve Clifford. Clifford did a nice job with Charlotte over the last couple seasons. I think Clifford's going to be in another job next year. I think the Knicks should take a look at him. I think Orlando should take a look at him. And then once Milwaukee's season ends, that they should look at him. And even the Suns should take a look at Steve Clifford as well. So he'll be back in the league somewhere eventually. NBA trade value rankings, I did them today. I'm starting at 100 and going down to 1. This is based on upside, futures, age, and a lot of other variable factors. Players' injury history factors in with a couple of these guys depending on age. And there are a lot of other things, as I mentioned, as well. 100, Blake Griffin, Detroit Pistons. Griffin would have been much higher on this list if a lot of things didn't happen. I think he played well in Detroit, but Detroit missed the playoffs even though they trade for him. I think he'll start next year on the Pistons. In all likelihood, that contract looks unmovable, but Griffin's very talented. I don't think Stan Van Gundy's going to be coaching the Pistons next season or even being the general manager there, so it's very fascinating to see what happens with Griffin. He has 4 years left on that contract, and I still think he's a talented player. Even though he's been injury-prone throughout his career, I think he's very, very talented, and he's a great passer. His free throw shooting has improved the last couple seasons. He can rebound. He obviously can score. I don't think he's that good of a defensive player. That's really his only flaw. But he's this low solely because of his injury history and the bad contract. 99, Marc Gasol, Memphis Grizzlies. Low ranking because of the same reasons as Griffin. Injuries and age and bad contract. I don't think Gasol will start the season on Memphis next season. I think they'll look to trade him as they begin a new era of Grizzlies basketball. And I personally believe that Gasol still has some left in the tank. He has a few years left, but his age is why he's this low, as well as his injury history, and I don't think he's getting any better. And I think this is who he is, and that's great. That's a franchise center when he's healthy. 98, Zach Collins, Portland Trailblazers. Collins is getting some more minutes and playing time on the Blazers as they go into the playoffs. I hope Collins gets more playing time. I think he has a chance to develop as a nice backup center in this league at worst. 97, Sam Decker, Los Angeles Clippers. I think Decker's a keeper on the Clippers. He's one of the guys they obviously got in the Paul trade. He's a good defensive player. He could shoot. He's a combo forward, and I like his game, and he should start next season on the Clips, as well as number 96, Montrezl Harrell of the Clippers. He was tremendous this season, especially when DeAndre Jordan was hurt. He was starting for them at center in a lot of big nationally televised games. He's shown a lot of promise. His free throw shooting has to get better, but he's a good defensive player. He's good at protecting the rim. He can rebound. He can score. I think he has room to grow as a player. 95, Josh Hart, Los Angeles Lakers. I love Hart's game. He's one of the better rookies in this league, one of the more underrated rookies in this league. I don't think I even put him on my top 10 for Rookie of the Year ballot. And that's how great this rookie class was this year. I'm a big Hart fan, and I'm not sure if he has a long-term future on the Lakers, because I know they're going to be in pursuit of a lot of big-name free agents. But Hart has a future in this league, and I think he could develop defensively as well as his offensive game. Number 94, Larry Nance Jr. of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Nance was in that big trade that the Lakers made with Cleveland to get him to Cleveland. I think Nance is going to have an impact for the Cavs in the playoffs. He's been good for them off the bench since coming over in that trade. He's good at protecting the rim. He can dunk. He can do a lot of different things. I like Nance as a player, and I'm interested to see if the Cavs keep him long term since he's in a contract year. 93, DeAndre Jordan, Los Angeles Clippers. Jordan was in a contract year this year, and he had a good season when he was healthy, and he can do a lot of things. He can protect the rim. He can obviously defend. He's not the best shooter in the world, but he can dunk. He's not a good free throw shooter. That's the weakness of his game. But somebody's going to overpay him this summer, and I doubt it's going to be the Clippers unless he opts in. If he opts in, then they're going to trade him, I think. 92, TJ Warren of the Phoenix Suns. Warren was one of the more improved players in the league this year. He's the Suns' second or third option, depending on the night. And I think Warren has a future in this league, but I don't know if it's with the Phoenix Suns. Depends on how the lottery plays out. 91, Harrison Barnes of the Dallas Mavericks. Barnes has become a better player since leaving Golden State for Dallas, in my opinion. That's pretty much because he's pretty much their go-to scorer on the Mavs, as he was pretty much the fourth or fifth guy on Golden State, depending on the lineups that they had. I really like Barnes as a player. I mentioned he's a good scorer. He can defend a little bit. He's a good three-point shooter. And I think he'll be on the Mavs for a couple more years before his contract runs out as the Mavs enter their rebuild. Or he could very well be trade bait, but I doubt it because of his contract. 90, Malcolm Brogdon of the Milwaukee Bucks. Brogdon was last year's Rookie of the Year. He was pretty good this year, although he was injured. He came back for them. I think he's going to be a factor for them off the bench in the playoffs. And I like Brogdon's game. He has room to grow as a player. 89, Stanley Johnson, Detroit Pistons. This is based on upside and potential for me. He's still a young player. He's shown improvement in the second half of the season after they traded away Tobias Harris as Johnson was inserted into the starting lineup. I'm interested to see what the Pistons do with him this summer because I don't think Van Gundy is going to be back there. So they could very well have a new GM, and he could very well be a guy that they can look to trade. 88, Milos Teodosic, Los Angeles Clippers. I love Teodosic. The Clippers were pretty good when he was healthy. Whenever he wasn't healthy, the Clippers didn't play well. I think the Clippers found the diamond in the rough here with Teodosic, and he's a part of their long-term future. 87, Goran Dragic of the Miami Heat. Dragic is one of the league's more underrated point guards, even though he's a little bit overpaid. He was great with Phoenix, and then they traded him to Miami, and then Miami overpaid him. I really like Dragic. He'll be a big part of what they do in the playoffs this year. 86, Al Horford, Boston Celtics. I'm a big Horford fan. He's a great all-around game. He can defend, he can pass, he can rebound, and he can score. He certainly helped the Celtics team, especially when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward aren't playing, and that's going to be the case come playoff time, so the pressure's on Horford if the Celtics want to get past the Bucks. 85, Chris Paul, Houston Rockets. That was a great trade for Houston, even though Houston gave up a ton. Paul has helped lead the Rockets to the best record in the NBA this season, along with MVP favorite James Harden. I think Paul's been a big help for Harden, although I was dubious of how that was going to work this season. I really like Paul as a player. He still has some prime years left in his career. I believe he'll be back on the Rockets next season because he's in a contract year. 84, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist of the Charlotte Hornets. This is pretty much an upside play. He's still a young player. He's been in the league for a while now. Charlotte signed him to an extension a few years ago. I'm a fan of Kidd-Gilchrist. He's a solid defender, and I think he has a future in this league. I'm unsure if he's a part of Charlotte's long-term plans or not because they have a new GM in Mitch Kupchak. 83, Joe Ingles, Utah Jazz. Ingles, I think, is one of the more underrated and improved players in this league. He certainly helped the Jazz make the playoffs this season, although all the attention is going to be on Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. I'm a big Ingles fan. He can rebound, he can pass, he can score, he can do it all, he can defend, and he's up there in age, and that's the reason why that he's only at 83. He'd be much higher on this list if he was lower. 82, Chris Middleton, Milwaukee Bucks. I'm a big fan of Middleton. He's been one of the better underrated players on the Bucks. He's a good two-way player, and he can hit threes. He can do so much for the Bucks. He's pretty much their glue guy. He has to have a nice series if they want to advance past Boston. 81, Thon Maker, Milwaukee Bucks. I think Maker has a ton of upside. He should be starting over John Henson in the Bucks lineup. I'm a big Maker fan. He's only going to get better as a player. I don't think Jason Kidd used him properly. I still really don't think the Bucks used him properly, but when the new coach comes in there next year, I really expect Maker to make a big jump and emerge as one of the more underrated and better centers in the league. 80, Dylan Brooks, Memphis Grizzlies. I love Brooks' game. He was one of the more underrated rookies this season, especially in the second half of the year when Memphis was tanking. He really took a lot of responsibilities. I think he's a long-term keeper for them. 79, Buddy Hield, Sacramento Kings. I'm a big Buddy Hield fan. Worst case scenario, he's the third guard off the bench. He has room to grow as a player. He could shoot threes, and I think he's a long-term piece for Sacramento going forward. 78, Tyler Johnson, Miami Heat. I like Johnson. I think he's one of the more underrated players in this league. He's thriving in Miami with Eric Spoelstra, and I think he's one of the X factors for Miami if they want to upset Philadelphia in the first round. 77, Karis LeVert, Brooklyn Nets. I'm a big fan of LeVert as he's been one of the more improved players in the league this year. He's a long-term piece for Brooklyn, and I think he's only going to get better. 76, Bobby Portis, Chicago Bulls. Portis has been one of the more improved players in the league this season, and I think he's going to be a starter in this league eventually. But my question is his future with the Bulls or is it with another team? 75, Marquise Chris, Phoenix Suns. I still believe in Marquise Chris. I don't think he was put in a good situation by the coaching of the Suns. If you put him on a better team or if he's coached by a better coach, maybe his potential can be realized. He's shown some flashes this season. He can rebound, he can shoot threes, and I think there's a chance that Chris doesn't start next season on the Suns. And I'm going to get to another Suns player right now in Dragan Bender, who's 74 on this list. He was the number 4 pick in the 2016 draft. He and Chris both have bust reputations, but I think they can flip that if their potential is unleashed by their team. But I don't think the Suns either A, liked what they saw, or B, just avoided them. I just think Bender and Chris are solid players and could be good players on the right teams, and maybe a new coach comes in with Phoenix and unleashes both Bender and Chris's potential. 73, Bogdan Bogdanovic of the Sacramento Kings. I really like Bogdanovic as he's a building block for the Kings long term. He's still pretty young. He can shoot the three. He can play either position from a wing standpoint, and as I said, I think he's a keeper on that Kings team. 72, Kelly Oubre of the Washington Wizards. I think Oubre is one of the X factors if Washington were to upset Toronto in the first round. He's a good two-way player. He's improving. He's only going to get better. And I think Oubre is better suited as a starter, not a bench player. But the Wizards have a surplus of wings, and that's why Oubre comes off the bench. 71, Will Barton, Denver Nuggets. Barton's been one of the better six-mans of the league over the last 2 seasons for the Nuggets. The Nuggets almost made the playoffs this season. Barton is a big part of what the Nuggets do. He's a free agent at the end of the season, I believe, and if I'm Denver, I'd try to re-sign him. 70, Rodney Hood, Cleveland Cavaliers. Hood didn't have a good year this year, and Utah shipped him to Cleveland. I think Hood could have a breakout in the playoffs. He's capable of shooting threes. He can defend. I just think he's a pretty good player, and playing with LeBron James could certainly go in Hood's favor. 69, Ante Zizic of the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is basically an upside pick for these rankings from Zizic's standpoint. I think his upside is Nikola Jokic. I've seen brilliant flashes from him before, and I think they should use him more in their playoff rotation. 68, Tobias Harris, Los Angeles Clippers. Harris is one of the more improved players in the league this season, as he's shown with Detroit, and Detroit took advantage of his trade value as they sent him to the Clippers, and Harris has not dropped off since he was traded to the Clippers. And you know what? You can make a case Harris has been better since the trade. I put him on my most improved award ballot. I don't remember where, but I'm a big fan of Harris. But my question is, do the Clippers keep him or do they trade him for something else, as they could very well be entering a rebuilding period if they lose DeAndre Jordan. 67, John Collins, Atlanta Hawks. Collins is one of the better rookies in the league this year. He's shown a lot of potential. He's a keeper on that Hawks team, in my opinion. 66, Jordan Bell, Golden State Warriors. I love Bell. He was a steal at Golden State selected him. Bell should be starting over Zaza Pachulia on the Warriors, but he's coming off the bench. I like Bell, and he's going to have some moments in this playoffs. 65, Bam Adebayo, Miami Heat. Adebayo's been starting for Miami a lot recently. I'm a big fan of him. He can score, he can rebound, and it certainly helps that Hassan Whiteside is playing alongside him, and I think he has a future in this league. And I think Miami is going to keep him long term. 64, Skal Labissiere, Sacramento Kings. Labissiere has shown flashes with the Kings, especially last year. I think he's a long-term piece for them, and I think he has a lot of potential to grow as a player. 63, Justice Winslow, Miami Heat. Winslow really didn't pan out those first couple years in Miami, but most recently he's really been very good for them. He's a big X factor for them if they want to upset the 76ers. I think he has room to grow as a player. His upside's Kawhi Leonard, and I'm a big fan of what I've seen recently from Winslow. And you can make a case Winslow should be higher on this list. 62, Domantas Sabonis, Indiana Pacers. Sabonis, one of the more improved players in the league. I think it certainly helps him that he's not playing with Russell Westbrook. That trade, I think, worked out for him. And obviously, Victor Oladipo. I'm going to get to Oladipo soon on this segment of the podcast. I really like Sabonis. He can rebound. He led the Pacers in rebounding this season, and he's a good guy for them off the bench. And I'm fascinated to see what they do with him and Miles Turner. I think there's a chance Sabonis is traded for the third straight summer, as he was traded on draft night, and then Oklahoma City dealt him away in the George trade. And there's a chance they trade him again if Indiana wants to improve their wing play. 61, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Brooklyn Nets. Hollis-Jefferson's been a nice player for the Nets this season. He's a combo forward. He can shoot the three, he can defend, he can rebound. I really like his game, and he's a very steady player. 60, Jabari Parker, Milwaukee Bucks. You could argue he should be higher. He could argue he should be lower. This was the hardest player to rank on this list. I still believe in Parker. His injuries have set him back big time. I think he still has a chance to be a very good player on a contender. The fit on the Bucks has been weird with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I get it. But I think there's going to be a team this summer that overpays him. Maybe the Bulls, maybe the Mavericks, but somebody's going to overpay him to join their team, and he's going to be very good. 59, Willie Cauley-Stein, Sacramento Kings. Cauley-Stein's been one of the more improved players this season, but Cauley-Stein hasn't gotten enough attention because Sacramento's so bad. But I really like Cauley-Stein's game. He can rebound. He's getting better defensively. He can score. And I believe he can add a little bit of a passing game too. I think he has room to grow as a player. And I think the Kings will keep him around. 58, Zach LaVine, Chicago Bulls. LaVine was really good for the Bulls after he came back from the ACL injury. He was also really good on the Timberwolves when he was on to the Timberwolves. Is LaVine a long-term piece for the Bulls, or do they trade him away too? I think that's remained to be seen. 57, Jusuf Nurkic of the Portland Trail Blazers. I really like Nurkic's game. I think this season's been a bit disappointing for them, but I think he still has room to grow as a player. He can pass, he can rebound, he can shoot. His defense isn't great, but I'm a big fan of Nurkic, and this spot's probably too high for him. 56, Steven Adams of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Adams has gotten better and better every year since he's been in the league. I'm a big fan of Adams. It certainly helps him that he's playing with Russell Westbrook and Paul George. And Oklahoma City found a nice player. At least they got something back for James Harden. 55, Taurean Prince, Atlanta Hawks. Prince has been one of the more improved players in the second half of the season. Not getting enough attention because the Hawks are so bad. Prince is a great player for them. And do they take advantage of his trade value to keep a rebuild going, or do they keep Prince as a long-term piece for the rebuild? 54, Josh Richardson, Miami Heat. Richardson's one of the more underrated players in this league. He can play both wing positions. He can shoot the three. He's a good defender. He's a good passer. He's a good rebounder for his position as well. I think he is a big part of what Miami does, and he needs to have a good series if they want to upset Philly. 53, Otto Porter Jr., Washington Wizards. I'm a big fan of Porter. He's gotten better every year. He's a good two-way player. He can shoot the three pretty good. And he can obviously score too. And I think he's a piece for the Wizards going forward as they paid him last summer. 52, Gary Harris, Denver Nuggets. I'm a big fan of Harris. He's a good two-way player. I think he's better suited as a two-guard than a small forward. I think he's really good, and he's a long-term piece for them as well. 51, Dennis Smith Jr. of the Dallas Mavericks. I'm a big fan of Dennis Smith Jr. I think a lot of teams, most notably the Knicks, are going to regret passing on Smith, and I think he's going to turn into one of the better young point guards in this league. He's had some flashes this season, and it certainly helps that he has a good coach in Rick Carlisle. 50, Kemba Walker, Charlotte Hornets. Is Walker going to be a Hornet long-term or not? That's going to be determined this summer as they have a new GM in Mitch Kupchak. I think Walker's gotten better and better every year. He was a deserving all-star this year, even though the Hornets were not good. And I like Walker's game. He obviously can score. He's a good three-point shooter. But can his passing and rebounding be better? Sure, I think that's the next step for him to become one of the great point guards in this league instead of very good. 49, John Wall, Washington Wizards. Wall should probably be higher on this list, but due to injury, he is this low. I'm a big Wall fan. He's obviously the best player on the Wizards, or if not the second best player. I think he's a really good passer, a good scorer. He can shoot the three ball. He can rebound pretty well as well. And even though he's overpaid, but I still think he's one of the better point guards in this league that aren't talked about enough. 48, Clint Capella, Houston Rockets. I'm a big fan of Capella. His game's improving by the year. Certainly helps that you're playing with James Harden and Chris Paul in Mike D'Antoni's system. But I really liked what Capella's done. He's shown flashes in the past, and now this year is where he's put it all together. He's a good rim protector. He can score. His weak link is his free throw shooting. I'm fascinated to see if any teams come playoff time do the hack of Capella in any series. 47, Dario Saric, Philadelphia 76ers. I'm a big Saric fan. He's a good front court player, and I think that he's one of the more improved players in the league. Certainly helps they're playing with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. But I'm a big fan of Saric. I think better days are ahead for Saric as well. 46, DeMar DeRozan of the Toronto Raptors. DeRozan probably should be higher on this list, but he's getting up there a little bit, and he's a little overpaid. I think he's one of the more improved players in the league. He can score, he can pass, he can shoot the three. His rebounding is pretty good for his position as well. 45, Jonathan Isaacs of the Orlando Magic. Isaacs didn't play a lot in his rookie year, but I'm banking on his upside here. I think he is going to be a very good combo forward in this league eventually. He's going to rebound. Maybe he develops a passing game. He has a good three-point shot. And I think he's a long-term piece for Orlando going forward. 44, DeJounte Murray, San Antonio Spurs. Murray proved to be a steal where the Spurs took him when they drafted him. I'm a big fan of Murray. He's now their starting point guard. And I think he'll have an impact for them in the playoffs. And if they want to give Golden State a series, Murray has to play well. 43, D'Angelo Russell, Brooklyn Nets. This is banking on the upside. If Russell wasn't hurt most of the season, I believe he would have been up there with Victor Oladipo for most improved player. I'm a big fan of Russell. Will the Lakers regret trading him? I'm going to say no, because it landed them Kyle Kuzma, and they drafted Lonzo Ball, so they had to give something away to get something. I can't fault the Lakers for that, but I love Russell's game. Is he a good defensive player? No, but this guy can flat out score. He's a good three-point shot. I think he can be a good passer eventually, and to me, he reminds me a little bit of a young Derrick Rose when Rose was on the Bulls. 42, De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings. I'm a big fan of Fox. I think he's going to be one of the more improved players in the league come next year. Certainly hurts him that he's on Sacramento, but I think eventually he'll start to make his teammates better, and the Kings certainly made the right decision by drafting Fox, in my opinion. 41, Chris Dunn, Chicago Bulls. This is a very high ranking for Dunn. He was perceived as a bust last year, but had a nice breakout year on the Bulls when he came back from his injury. I'm a big fan of Dunn. I think he's going to improve as a player, and he's somebody that can make his teammates better. And the Bulls' return for Jimmy Butler doesn't look as bad as it did on draft night because of the improvement of Dunn, and a guy I'm going to get to eventually in this podcast. 40, Devin Booker, Phoenix Suns. Booker should probably be higher, but he's this low because I think there's 39 guys with higher ceilings than him long term, and the fact that Booker isn't a good defensive player. Booker can flat out score. He reminds me of a young James Harden. I think Booker can develop a passing game, which can make him a James Harden-esque player, but his defense remains an issue as he has not provided any good defensive play through his career. 39, Andrew Wiggins, Minnesota Timberwolves. This is banking on him improving as a player as well. I'm a big Wiggins fan. I think the fact that he's on the same team as Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns has hurt his development a little bit, but I still am a fan of Wiggins, and I think he has a lot of potential still. And my question is his long-term future on the Timberwolves? Maybe, maybe not, even though the Timberwolves paid him last summer. 38, Julius Randle of the Los Angeles Lakers. I love Randle. I think Randle has been one of the more improved players in the league this year. I should have probably had him on my most improved ballot, but I didn't. He's had a couple triple-doubles this season. He can score, he can rebound, he can pass. He's getting there defensively, and I think he's a keeper for the Lakers long term. Although it's not a slam dunk, because I mentioned this before with Kyle Kuzma, and I think there's a chance that they get rid of some guys to clear some cap room for LeBron James and Paul George if they think there's a chance that they're going to sign them. 37, Gordon Hayward, Boston Celtics. A bit high for a guy that got injured this past season, but I still think Hayward's one of the more underrated great players in this league when he's healthy. He can score, he can defend, he can shoot the three, he can pass, he can rebound for his position. I think he's going to come back better than ever next year, and I think he loves playing for Brad Stevens. 36, Draymond Green, Golden State Warriors. You could argue this is too high, and you could argue this is too low. I still think Draymond Green's one of the better players in this league. He's still young, too, and that's being forgotten. He can rebound, he can pass, he can score, he can defend. And the one thing he's poor at is free throw shooting, because I've seen teams foul him on purpose for him to go to the free throw line. And he has to be the Draymond Green we all know and is perceived as in the playoffs if the Warriors want to repeat as NBA champions. 35, Hassan Whiteside, Miami Heat. Whiteside's a great player. A lot of people thought his breakout season a few years ago was a fluke. He's proven no way it's a fluke, that this is who he is. And when he's healthy, he's one of the better rim protectors, defensive players in this league. And he'll be a big part of what Miami does in the series against Philly if they are to pull off an upset. 34, Andre Drummond, Detroit Pistons. I'm a big fan of Drummond. He had his best season of his career this year. He can rebound, he can score. His passing game's improved. His free throw shooting has improved. But again, is he on this roster long term? I don't think Stan Van Gundy will be back. 33, Jaylen Brown, Boston Celtics. Brown's been one of the more improved players on the Celtics, especially in his rookie season when he made a bit of a jump in the playoffs last year, and he followed it up with another solid season this year. He's a good defensive player. Brad Stevens loves getting a lot out of these guys, but Brown's was a lottery pick and should be playing up to that status. I believe he's still a few years away from being a star in this league, but I'm a big fan of Jaylen Brown. 32, Aaron Gordon, Orlando Magic. Is Gordon's long-term future with the Magic or another team? We'll see. It should be a very interesting summer for Gordon as he's a restricted free agent. I heard teams like the Suns, the Mavericks, and the Suns, the Mavericks, and the Pacers linked to him for the summer. It should be interesting to see what Gordon does. Orlando got rid of Frank Vogel, and this new front office didn't pick Aaron Gordon. So, interesting to see what happens with him, as Gordon's been one of the more improved players in the league this season. He can score, he can rebound, and he has a little bit of a passing game now too. 31, Lauri Markkanen, Chicago Bulls. I like Markkanen. He had a fine rookie year. I think he has room to grow as a player. He can score. He can shoot the three ball, obviously. He can rebound. He can block shots too. And he is a long-term piece for the Bulls. He and Chris Dunn's emergence are the reasons why the Butler return doesn't look all that bad for Chicago. 30, Miles Turner, Indiana Pacers. Turner is so underrated in this league, and he was one of the better players in the 2015 draft class. I'm going to do the 2015 redraft on a podcast within the next couple weeks. I'm a big fan of his game. He can rebound, he can score, he can protect the rim really good. And if Indiana are to upset Cleveland, Turner has to be a part of it. 29, Jason Tatum, Boston Celtics. I'm a big fan of Tatum. He was great in the first part of his rookie season, then tailed off a little bit, and then was great again. He has to be great in the playoffs if they are to go far, especially without Irving and Hayward. And I think Tatum still has room to grow as a player. He can score, he can rebound, he can develop a little bit of a passing game. He reminds me a lot of Carmelo Anthony. And who knows, maybe his ceiling is higher than Carmelo Anthony. I'd say his ceiling could very well be Carmelo Anthony. His floor is Paul Pierce. And there's talks that he could very well be a better player than what Paul Pierce was. We'll see. And that's appropriate because Pierce was obviously a Celtics great, and Tatum is now on the Celtics. 28, Jamal Murray, Denver Nuggets. I'm a big fan of Murray. He was one of the more improved players in the league this season, especially on a team that was contending for a playoff spot until Game 82 of the season. I think Murray is one of the better point guards in the league now. He's the second best player on the Nuggets, and he can shoot the three well. His defensive game is getting there. Even though the Nuggets were a poor defensive team, he can pass. And he had a game winner against Oklahoma City. Or that was Gary Harris, but I think he made the pass to Harris in that game. But that game against Oklahoma City where they won the buzzer was Murray's breakout game. I'm very bullish on Murray for the future. 27, Brandon Ingram, Los Angeles Lakers. I'm a big fan of Brandon Ingram. He has the ceiling of a Kevin Durant, and I think he could very well be a long-term piece for the Lakers depending on what happens this summer. Or could he be trade bait? I'm very fascinated to see what they do with Ingram. And do they try to get rid of that Dang contract by packaging Ingram and the future first in the deal? It's very going to be a fascinating summer for Ingram and the Lakers. But if they don't get LeBron or George, I think Ingram should be there for the long haul. 26, Markelle Fultz, Philadelphia 76ers. This is a very bullish ranking for Fultz considering he missed most of his rookie season. When he came back from injury about 3 weeks ago, he's been tremendous. He had a triple-double the other night, and he's certainly an X factor for Philadelphia come playoff time. 25, Lonzo Ball, Los Angeles Lakers. I'm a big fan of Ball. I think he's going to be one of the better point guards in the league within the next couple years. He has a ton of upside. There's talks that he could be the guy on the Lakers that's trade bait for them as they try to clear cap room for future free agents. But we'll see. 24, Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets. Jokic is a pretty good center all around. His one flaw is that he's not a good defensive player. He can shoot, he can rebound, he can score, and he can pass. Those are his strengths, but I mentioned he's not a good defensive center. And he really didn't show up for them when they needed him in that playoff play-in game against the Timberwolves on Wednesday night. But I love Jokic, and I think he's a very solid player, and certainly the best player on the Nuggets. 23, C.J. McCollum, Portland Trail Blazers. I'm a big fan of McCollum. He won the most improved player last season. He's been good this season with Damian Lillard in that backcourt as the Blazers made their run to the 3 seed. And I still think McCollum has room to grow as a player. He's a solid scorer. He can shoot the 3 ball. And he's a solid passer as well. 22, Damian Lillard, ironically enough, of the Portland Trail Blazers. Lillard was a top 5 MVP candidate this season. He's been absolutely tremendous, especially in the second half. He can score. He can shoot the 3. He's a big shot player. And he can pass too. If he ever was a good defensive player, he'd have a Russell Westbrook-esque type of ceiling. But he has a Russ ceiling in terms of all-around game standpoint, but not a defensive standpoint. 21, Kyrie Irving, Boston Celtics. Irving would be much higher on this list if he wasn't hurt. But Irving is injured, and he's at 21. I still think that he's going to come back and be a great player for Boston as Boston looks to win its first NBA championship since 2008. 20, Kawhi Leonard, San Antonio Spurs. Is Leonard's future with the Spurs or another team? That's very hard to determine, but Leonard, when healthy, is a top 5 player in this league, but this is trade value rankings, but he's this low because of injury pretty much. But like I said, I'm a big fan of Leonard. He's an outstanding two-way player. He can rebound. His passing game, I think, can be better. And whoever trades for him, if that's what San Antonio decides to do, is getting a special player in Kawhi once he comes back healthy. 19, Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors. Curry's this low because of age and injury. It's hard to believe that Curry's 30 years old, but that's the case. He's out with the injury right now. He's going to be back for round 2. He's such a special talent. He's a great three-point shooter. He's a solid passer, an underrated rebounder. His defensive game has gotten better, especially with Klay Thompson's emergence defensively. And 18, Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz. Yes, Mitchell's ahead of Curry, and this is because of me projecting the future a little bit. And I'm a big fan of Mitchell. He's going to finish second in Rookie of the Year. He's the second best player on the Jazz right now. If the Jazz are to upset Oklahoma City, Mitchell has to be really, really, really good. Perhaps the best player in the series, or that could very well be Gobert if Utah wins. 17, I mentioned him a couple minutes ago, and that's Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors. Thompson's ahead of Curry because of age and because Thompson's more able to stay healthy than Curry. And I think if Thompson was on another team as a number 1 option, he'd be scoring 28 a game, hitting a ton of three-pointers. He's a great two-way player. He's not that great of a rebounder, not that great of a passer. I'm fascinated to see if Golden State keeps him long-term or not. So if he's not, I'm fascinated to see him unleashed without Durant and Curry's presences. 16, Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards. I'm a big Beal fan. He reminds me of a young Ray Allen from when Ray Allen was on the Milwaukee Bucks. I think Beal is special. He is the best player on the Wizards. Before I said it was John Wall. But I think it's Beal personally. Now that I think about it, because Beal has improved defensively. He can rebound. He can pass pretty well. He's a good three-point shooter. And he obviously can flat out score. And he was fantastic when Wall went out due to injury and kept that team afloat. 15, Victor Oladipo, Indiana Pacers. Oladipo's going to easily win the league's most improved player award. I'm a big Oladipo fan. I loved him when he was on Orlando, but he just never really panned out. And then they traded him to Oklahoma City. And then he was a little bit better playing alongside Russell Westbrook, and then they traded him for Paul George, and he's been outstanding. He's led this Pacers team to the playoffs, and he has to be the best player in the series if the Pacers are to upset LeBron James and the Cavs. 14, James Harden, Houston Rockets. He's 14 because this isn't player rankings, this is trade value rankings. I think Harden's the MVP favorite, but I'm not convinced that he's going to win. And listen, I think Harden is a great scorer and a great passer and a pretty good rebounder, but I don't think he's that great of a defensive player, although he's improved defensively this season with Paul's presence. But you got to keep doing it come playoffs time. And, excuse me. And sometimes he takes nights off on that end. 13, Jimmy Butler, Minnesota Timberwolves. Butler's an outstanding player. He was an MVP candidate before he got hurt for the Timberwolves. And I'm curious, because next year is a contract year for him. Is he on the Timberwolves long term, or does he sign with the Lakers? That is very, very, very fascinating. 12, Rudy Gobert, Utah Jazz. I'm a big fan of Gobert. If he hadn't missed time this season, the Jazz would have had home court advantage in the playoffs. They would have been the 3 seed for sure. I love Gobert. He's a shot blocker. He can rebound. He can score a little bit. And we'll see if he develops more offensively or not. 11, DeMarcus Cousins, New Orleans Pelicans. Boogie was an MVP candidate before he got injured for the season. I thought the Pelicans were screwed after he got hurt, but no. A guy I'm going to mention in a little bit in this segment, and Anthony Davis, single-handedly carried them to the 6th seed of the playoffs. And I'm a big fan of Cousins. He was in a contract year. I still think somebody's going to pay him big bucks this summer. And I have a feeling that he's going to stay in New Orleans. But there's a chance that he bolts to the Lakers or somewhere else. It should be very interesting. 10, Paul George, Oklahoma City Thunder. George is in a contract year. A little inconsistent for him in a contract year, but he's still going to get paid, whether it's by Oklahoma City or the Lakers or somebody else. I'm a big fan of George. He can score, he can defend, he can shoot the 3. He's a decent passer. He's a good rebounder as well. And I think George is still a very good player, although there's a perception out there that I think is false that he's not the same guy that he was with the Pacers. That is not true. When he's healthy, he's a gamer. And he's helped the Thunder win some big games this season, especially in Golden State earlier in the year. 9, LeBron James, Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, he's listed low because of age only, and that's it. He played all 82 games this year. I believe he should win the MVP. He's fantastic. He single-handedly is the reason why the Cavaliers have home court advantage in the playoffs. I think he's still the best player in the world, but he just doesn't have the most trade value of any NBA player right now or in the future. And as I said again, trade value is different from all-around best player right now. And I still love LeBron. He should be the MVP, and I'm going to keep saying it again and again and again because everyone's saying it's going to be Harden. And I think it could very well be Harden, but I think James has just been the better player this season although Harden's been on the better team, no doubt about it, but LeBron lost a lot of his supporting cast throughout the year, and he even lost his head coach for a little while throughout the year. He kept that team afloat, even though they've had some terrible defeats this season. I still love LeBron, and he's going to be the best player in the NBA playoffs this season. Just saying. Number 8, Kristaps Porzingis, New York Knicks. Porzingis, probably too high, but before he got injured, he was having the best year of his very young career. I think he's going to come back and be stronger than ever. He's a franchise player. He's a really good rim protector. He can do a better job rebounding. He's a great scorer. He can shoot the 3. Any player that could shoot the 3 and protect the rim is something very valuable in this league. And only a few guys could do it. Obviously, LeBron, Porzingis, and the guy that I'm going to eventually mention in this segment that hasn't really gotten there yet, but I'm going to mention it eventually in this podcast. I'm not going to say who. But I love Porzingis. He's just a very, very, very special player when he's healthy. And when he's healthy and playing at a high level, you can make a case he was the best player in the 2015 NBA draft. 7, Joel Embiid, Philadelphia 76ers. Arguably too high due to injury, but he's here. He helped the Sixers go to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. He's their best player right now, but I don't know if they're going to be their best player long term. That title's going to go to Ben Simmons. But I'm a big fan of Embiid. He improved defensively this season. He can obviously protect the rim and rebound. He can score. He has a 3-point range. So him and Porzingis and one or two other guys I'm going to continue to mention on this podcast are obviously candidates, or one of them has proven to do it, and the other one hasn't yet proven to do it consistently. I'll get to them in a few moments, but I'm a big fan of Embiid, and he's going to be ready to go come playoff time, although he is going to miss Game 1. 6, Karl-Anthony Towns, Minnesota Timberwolves. Towns, once Butler got hurt, upped his game another level, and I think he's a very steady and polished player, although I believe Porzingis has more upside. Towns still needs to be better defensively. He can rebound. He can score. He can shoot from 3. I think he's a very good player and is going to be the best player on the Timberwolves going forward, although Jimmy Butler was their best player this season. 5, Russell Westbrook, Oklahoma City Thunder. Westbrook's still really young. He's averaging triple-doubles. He averaged a triple-double, obviously, this season, and then last season when he won the MVP. Russ Westbrook has stayed healthy these last few years, and that's been incredible for him considering he had some injuries throughout his career, especially when he was playing with Durant. And once Durant left Golden State, Durant left for Golden State, Westbrook was unleashed, and he is going to be playing at a high level for another couple years. 4, Kevin Durant, Golden State Warriors. Debatable whether it's too high or too low, but this is out of respect because Durant is one of the better scorers in this league. He's improved defensively. He can rebound. His passing's improved. He's another guy like Porzingis and maybe eventually Towns and Embiid that can both shoot the 3 and protect the rim. I'm a giant fan of Durant. He has to be great if Golden State are to advance far in the playoffs, especially with Stephen Curry not 100%. Number 3, Anthony Davis of the New Orleans Pelicans. Davis is another guy that's shown that he can shoot the 3 and protect the rim. I'm a big Anthony Davis fan. He just took his game to another level once DeMarcus Cousins got injured for the season. I'm interested to see if they keep him and Cousins together long term. I love Anthony Davis, and when he's healthy, he's a top 5 player in this league. And he's still very young. 2, Ben Simmons, Philadelphia 76ers. The runaway favorite for Rookie of the Year. He has the upside of LeBron James. He's shown some very LeBron-esque things from his passing and rebounding games. And he's averaging triple-doubles too. His shot's getting better. And if his shoot gets all the way better, you can make a case should be ahead of my number 1 player, Giannis Antetokounmpo, on this list. I think there's no player in the NBA right now that has more trade value than Giannis Antetokounmpo. When he's playing well and due to his upside, from an upside standpoint, he's the best young player in the league. He's still really young. He just needs to be coached better and have better teammates, and I'm fascinated to see what kind of player he is coming in the next year, as he's going to come in the next year as the league MVP favorite. All right, that's my trade value rankings. Right now is going to be my award ballot before I go. MVP, LeBron James, Cleveland Cavaliers. I've been saying this for months now. LeBron should be the league MVP. He's certainly my pick if I was chosen to pick. Am I 100% sure that LeBron James is going to win it? No. But LeBron should be it. He helped carry what I think is a weak Cavs team, especially before they made those trades, to home court advantage in the playoffs. He's been putting up a ton of triple-doubles this season. He's kept Cleveland in games that they shouldn't have won. He single-handedly has won a lot of games for the Cavaliers this season, and he's been the best player in the league this season. He's been the best player in the league for a decade now. Number 2, James Harden, Houston Rockets. He's probably the favorite to win this award, but my case for LeBron is what I just made. But Harden's case is the best player on the best team, which is what Harden is. He's improved defensively, but he's not elite defensively. He has a good passing game. He's a great rebounder for a guard. Mike D'Antoni's done a tremendous job this year with him and Paul and handling their minutes. So there's your Harden MVP case. Number 3, Anthony Davis of the New Orleans Pelicans. He's been tremendous this season, especially after losing Boogie. And I believe that he is going to continue to get better because he's still really young. 4, Damian Lillard, Portland Trail Blazers. Lillard gets number 4 for carrying the Blazers to the number 3 seed in the Western Conference, although the Blazers have faltered the last couple weeks because their schedule had gotten harder and whatnot, but I'm a big fan of Lillard. He can flat out score. He's going to carry the Blazers in this playoff season. Number 5, Russell Westbrook, Oklahoma City Thunder. Westbrook's been just outstanding since coming back after the All-Star break, and he has just looked like the same guy as last year, and I believe that he might average a triple-double in the playoffs too. 6, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks. Antetokounmpo would have been top 5 if the Bucks were not a 7 seed, but yeah, they're a 7 seed. I can't necessarily fault that on Giannis, but Giannis is a part of the team, and I don't think it's fair to put a 7 seed as number 1 on the MVP. But that was the case with Russell Westbrook, as Oklahoma City was a lower seed last year. I believe they actually were a 7 seed a year ago, and they were the 6, not the 7 last year. But Giannis is on a weak team, not a good coaching situation, but Giannis deserves to be on my ballot for single-handedly winning a lot of games for the Bucks this season. 7, Victor Oladipo, Indiana Pacers. Oladipo probably should be higher than Giannis on this list, but Giannis is just a better player than Oladipo. And I'm a big fan of Oladipo. He helped the Pacers get to the 5 seed this year, and he deserves a lot of credit for that, and he's obviously going to win Most Improved Player, as I just gave away that award, and I'll talk about him more when I get to that part of this segment. 8, LaMarcus Aldridge, San Antonio Spurs. This is out of respect for the Spurs. Aldridge has just been tremendous this season as he helped carry the Spurs without Kawhi Leonard for most of the year. He's looked like the same guy as he was in Portland, and I still think he's a solid player after there's a lot of talk that, he's washed up, he's not the same guy anymore. I never thought he was washed up, but I did have that sense that he wasn't the same player as he was with the Portland Trail Blazers, but I think that he's gone back up to that level, especially with the absence of Kawhi Leonard. Aldridge has to have a big series if San Antonio wants to do something. 9, Kevin Durant, Golden State Warriors. He probably shouldn't be on this list, but he is out of respect. The Warriors are the 2 seed. He's carried them for most of the year, especially when Curry wasn't healthy. Although Durant wasn't healthy, but Durant's their best all-around player, and he deserves a lot of credit. 10, DeMar DeRozan, Toronto Raptors. This is out of respect because the Raptors are the 1 seed, and DeRozan was in the conversation for Most Improved Player, but his play dipped a bit, and I'm a big DeRozan fan, and as I mentioned before, he's a pretty good passer. He can score, and he's their go-to guy late in games, along with Kyle Lowry. Defensive Player of the Year, number 1, Rudy Gobert, Utah Jazz. Gobert's just been outstanding this season for Utah, despite missing a lot of games. If Gobert was healthy, the Jazz are obviously a higher seed. 2, Anthony Davis. I talked about Davis before. 3, Joel Embiid, Philadelphia 76ers. 4, Draymond Green of the Warriors. 5, Al Horford of the Celtics. Horford, I talked about before a little bit. 6, Giannis. 7, Robert Covington of Philly. 8, Victor Oladipo of Indiana. 9, Jimmy Butler of Minnesota. And 10, Drew Holiday of New Orleans. And I just wanted to go make my argument for the 10 MVP guys. I'm not going to do it for the next couple of words. I'll do my arguments for the Coach of the Year pick and runner-up, as well as Executive of the Year. Most Improved Player, 1, Oladipo. I talked about him enough. I put Towns 2. Joe Ingles, 3 of the Utah Jazz. 4, Clint Capella. 5, Jamal Murray. 6, Tobias Harris. 7, Robert Covington. 8, DeJounte Murray. 9, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. 10, Taurean Prince. 6th Man of the Year, 1, Lou Williams of the Clippers. 2, Eric Gordon of the Rockets. 3, Kyle Kuzma of the Lakers. Yes, I did put a rookie on there. 4, Will Barton, Nuggets. 5, Kelly Olynyk of the Heat. 6, Fred VanVleet of the Raptors. 7, Domantas Sabonis of the Pacers. 8, PJ Tucker of the Rockets. 9, James Johnson of the Heat. 10, Norman Powell of the Raptors. Rookie of the Year. I talked about Simmons enough. I have him 1, Mitchell 2. Jason Tatum 3, Kyle Kuzma 4, Lauri Markkanen 5, Lonzo Ball 6, De'Aaron Fox 7, Dennis Smith 8, Josh Collins 9, Josh Jackson 10. I didn't talk about Jackson enough because he wasn't on my trade value rankings, but I like Jackson. I think he has upside, but he just didn't crack the list, that's all. Coach of the Year, Brad Stevens, Boston Celtics. This was a slam dunk. The 2 seed in the East without your best 2 players pretty much, especially Hayward out the whole year. Irving was there for most of the year, but Stevens has done one heck of a job, and he's gotten a lot out of players that aren't really that talented, like the likes of Shane Larkin and Aaron Baines. 2, Dwayne Casey, Raptors, 1 seed in the East. He obviously would have won this award if Boston had a healthy roster. 3, Nate McMillan, 4, Quinn Snyder, 5, Mike D'Antoni, 6, Doc Rivers, 7, Brett Brown, 8, Terry Stotts, 9, Greg Popovich, 10, Eric Spoelstra. Executive of the Year, 1, Daryl Morey, Houston Rockets. Best record in the NBA. Got to give it to Daryl Morey. The acquisition of Chris Paul was huge. The other little acquisitions they made were pretty big as well, such as P.J. Tucker. 2, Masai Ujiri of the Raptors, 1 seed in the East. And he has obviously done a tremendous job building that team the last couple seasons. 3, Danny Ainge, 4, Brian Colangelo, 5, Neil O'Shea, 6, Sam Presti, 7, Bob Myers, 8, R.C. Buford, 9, Dennis Lindsey, 10, Chad Buchanan. That's it for the awards, and that's it for today's podcast. I was going to do all NBA, but I'll do that on another podcast because I'm out of time. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody, and have a great weekend and enjoy all the playoff action.